Right now, most people don't think. They mirror, they choose careers because everyone says it's safe. They invest because everyone's buying. They nod in meetings because no one else objected. And it feels intelligent because it feels normal. That's the trap. Because when you follow the crowd, you inherit the crowd's timing. And the crowd is always late. Late to exits, late to opportunities, late to reality. Social proof doesn't force you into bad decisions. It does something cleaner, colder. It removes the friction that would have saved you. It smooths over doubt. It numbs instinct. It replaces judgment with comfort. And smart people, capable people, quietly demote themselves into compliant extras in someone else's story. This isn't about being contrarian for ego. That's just insecurity wearing a mask. This is about precision, knowing when the crowd contains signal and when it's just noise. Fear, uncertainty, laziness, amplified, recycled, obeyed. Because once you can spot social proof in real time, it loses its grip. Once you can see it under pressure, you can neutralize it. Once you understand it, you can weaponize it strategically instead of being controlled by it. That's what this manifesto gives you. A working mental model. Real-time detection. Pressure-tested control. No motivation, no philosophy. Just leverage. Social proof. Here's what it really is. It's when you assume something is correct, or safe, or valuable. Not because you checked it, not because you understand it, but because a lot of other people already believe it, or they're already doing it. That's it. No analysis, no verification. Just the quiet assumption that this must be right because everyone else seems to think so. And that's how social proof gets in. You've probably seen this happen. You're in a meeting. Someone lays out a plan, and almost immediately you get that feeling. Something's off. But no one says anything. So silence gets treated like agreement. The plan moves forward, not because it's strong, but because speaking up feels socially expensive. 6 months later, it's obvious it was a mistake. Everyone admits it, quietly, and no one remembers who stayed silent. They just remember the damage. The same thing shows up in startups. Founders chase whatever's hot because every VC is funding this space. Crypto, AI wrappers, social apps, marketplaces. By the time it's clearly a bad idea, the market's already crowded. Margins are gone. Differentiation is impossible. Social proof didn't confirm the opportunity. It ruined the timing. You see it in investing too. People pile into assets after they've already gone up. Not because they ran the numbers, but because everyone's talking about them. Visibility replaces valuation. Popularity replaces analysis. They buy when confidence is highest. They panic when it disappears. All together, all on schedule. And then there's negotiation and workplace politics. You accept bad terms because others already did. You tolerate nonsense because that's just how things work here. You defer to the group even when your private read says it's wrong. And that's the part most people miss. You don't lose because you're wrong. You lose because you didn't trust your own signal. Most people are running a very simple shortcut. If a lot of people agree, it's probably right. And to be fair, that rule works just often enough to feel safe. It keeps you from standing out. It keeps you from being wrong alone. But strategic thinkers don't use that shortcut. They slow down and ask a different question. What information does the crowd actually have, and what are they just reacting to? Because most crowds aren't analyzing. They're responding to headlines, to price movement, to social pressure. And that matters. The crowd is only reliable in very specific situations, when the problem is simple, when everyone's incentives point in the same direction, and when feedback shows up quickly enough to correct mistakes. Outside of those conditions, consensus isn't intelligence. It's emotional contagion. Fear spreads, excitement spreads, confidence spreads. None of those are proof. So strategy isn't about rejecting consensus just to feel superior. That's not thinking, that's posturing. Real strategy is about discounting consensus properly, treating it as one data point, not a verdict. Popularity isn't evidence, repetition isn't validation, and silence, especially silence, is never agreement. Once you really internalize that, the crowd stops steering your decisions. It becomes background noise, and you get your leverage back. So how do you actually use this? Start at work. Anytime everyone agrees too fast, pay attention. That's usually not alignment, that's avoidance. Before you go along publicly, pause and ask yourself something privately. If this blows up, will the group take responsibility, or will they quietly disappear? Whenever you can, speak last in meetings. Let everyone else reveal where the consensus is drifting. Then decide what you're doing. Are you adding real signal, or are you just echoing what's already safe to say? And here's the part people don't like hearing. If dissent feels risky, that's often because it's valuable. Safe rooms don't produce leverage. Now zoom out to business and money. Never ask yourself, is everyone doing this? That question already lost. Ask better ones. Who's not doing this, and why? Who benefits if more people believe this story? And what actually breaks if this assumption turns out to be wrong? Because if an opportunity only works when a lot of people pile in, it's fragile by design. Real leverage doesn't need a crowd. It works quietly, often before most people even notice it. This matters even more in relationships and influence. Social proof is a weapon. Most people just don't realize they're being hit with it. When people feel uncertain, they instinctively look to others for cues. They're asking, what's normal here? What's acceptable? What should I think? So the move is simple. Remove uncertainty. Act decisively. Not loudly, not aggressively, just clearly. Set the tone early. Frame your position as normal before someone else gets the chance to define normal for the room. Because silence doesn't stay empty. Silence creates a vacuum, and that vacuum always gets filled by whoever speaks first. Here's the rule that cuts through everything else. If you wouldn't believe something on your own, if you wouldn't trust it without reassurance, without numbers behind it, without other people nodding along, then don't suddenly accept it just because you're surrounded by a crowd. Ask yourself honestly, would this still make sense if no one else was talking about it? Would you still believe it if you were the only one in the room? Because agreement doesn't turn assumptions into facts. Repetition doesn't turn guesses into truth. And confidence, especially borrowed confidence, doesn't make ideas solid. A crowd doesn't make weak ideas smarter. It doesn't make them safer. It doesn't make them right. It just makes them louder. The crowd isn't stupid. That's not the problem. The problem is that the crowd is reactive. It moves after things happen, not before. It responds to momentum, not fundamentals. And more than anything, it's optimized for comfort, not outcomes, not truth. comfort. So your advantage isn't being louder than everyone else. It isn't flexing intelligence, and it isn't trying to win arguments. Your real advantage is restraint. It's being able to pause when everyone else rushes in, to slow down when the room speeds up, to think clearly when others are copying behavior they don't fully understand. Because social proof never announces itself. It doesn't come with a warning label. It doesn't say, "Hey, you're about to stop thinking for yourself." It just feels reasonable. It feels obvious. It feels like common sense. And that's exactly why it's dangerous. So think independently, not emotionally, not reactively. Act deliberately, with intention, with timing, and let the crowd discover later what you already understood when it actually mattered.
Thanks for spending time with us. If this sparked a new way of thinking, hit like and subscribe to keep the ideas flowing. And don't forget, check the description for the links to the original books and resources we used today. We'll see you in the next one.